The sound of pages turning means it's time for another episode from the Meredith Library Podcast Studio, bringing you the library's latest news, information, and fun.
Good afternoon, Anna.
Good afternoon, Matthew.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to episode number 18 of Check It Out. Anna and I are glad to welcome our special guest, Paula Wanzer, with us today. Hello, Paula.
Hi.
Paula is here to tell us about the Meredith Adaptive Launch Project at Leavitt Park.
I'm a paddler. I've been a paddler forever. And recently, I've had an occasion to have to use a scooter or a wheelchair to get anywhere. So now I can't paddle unless I have either 2 or 3 people with me or an adaptive paddling launch.
Paddling is in a kayak or a canoe. Can you explain that a little?
Okay. Paddling includes kayaks, all sorts, canoes, all sorts, because there are a variety of different boats out there now. You can also use this adaptive paddling launch for sit-on kayaks and stand-up paddling boards. Anything that you can paddle, you can launch from this system.
So right now at Leavitt Park, there is no adaptive launch. And so people that might need help getting into their boats, it's not possible at this moment.
Right.
And we're going to change that.
Yes.
Yes.
And it will be protected, too, from motorboat traffic.
Oh, how do they do that? That's interesting.
Well, we place rocks strategically.
Oh.
The place we found to locate it is shallow.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a nice site and it's quiet water. It's on the north side of the park. It's a canoe launch. Forever, we worked with Lakes Region Conservation Trust years ago to have a canoe launch there for their paddling project.
Yeah, so I know exactly the spot you're talking about where it's a little bit separate from the beach. There's a separate path that goes down to it.
Yep, and the trail is already accessible. It's got lots of canopy, so it protects from the rain and being washed out.
So looking at your flyer here that was sent out in the mail to all the Meredith residents, I'm seeing that the adaptive launch system looks like kind of 2 boards and then some poles that can grab your hands and kind of lower yourself down onto, which seems really great. So you use the kayak or the canoe and you put it in between the 2 platforms so that it doesn't move.
Yes.
And then you can use your arms to kind of help you center in.
Our proposed launch is built by Board Safe.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the feature that we really wanted to look for, that cage. It's called a cage, and it helps people like me be able to pull up, because people have more power to pull up than they have to push out. It's all right to fall in your boat, but when you're trying to get out of it, you want to be able to pull up. This is the one that we found that offered that, and that's vital for people with paraplegic or quadriplegic. There's also things that you can put on your wrist, pull up, not have to use, if you don't have finger control, you can use your rest of your arm to pull up.
And that was a really interesting point, too, about getting back out, because I think when people imagine this every time, you just picture someone getting in and paddling off into the sunset. You don't think about, well, wait a minute, you have to come back and reverse the whole process.
And that's the tricky part.
Oh, okay. Very fascinating. Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about the process? And I know as a Meredith resident from watching the select board online that the residents came to the select board to ask for, I guess, permission or for input and for backing on all this. Can you talk a little bit about that process?
Yes. Well, we started in 2022 and got a small committee together of paddlers and of course, disabled paddlers and partially people who might need it in a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
And we connected with the Meredith Parks and Rec. They agreed to help us out. Vint has been very helpful in knowing all the ins and outs of how to get things going. Then, of course, we had to approach the select board, and they gave us for permission to keep it, to keep going. And then we had to give them another presentation because there was some, challenges. There always is.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, we were able to get into raising funds.
And of course, the paperwork that arrived in the mail had the donation form and the information for that. So why don't we talk about that, including the goal, how much has been raised so far, and how people can donate.
So we're starting with the donation form, right?
Okay.
Okay. The donation form is available online or by calling the Meredith Community Center.
And that phone number to call would be 603-279-8197. And that is the Meredith Parks and Recreation Department contacting Vint Schwanier, the director. So Anna has the website for you as well.
And the website you can visit for more information is www.meredithnh.org/parks-recreation.
I'm sure there's a link from the front page of the Parks and Recreation part too. It must be out there as well.
Yes.
So on the donation form, I can see that there are several options, including you can donate anonymously, or you can donate in honor, recognition, or memory of someone. So has that been a popular choice for people?
Yes, especially anonymous. Surprisingly, I was surprised. But yeah, it's great for people to be able to honor a loved one or someone that they really cherish in this way.
People who are looking for a tax deduction out of it as well, that is also part of the deal.
Right.
Is any donation too small?
Oh, no. We've already had donations of $5, $1, 50 cents. It all adds up. It's amazing how quickly it all adds up.
Okay, so we were talking about that's how to locate the donation form if they want to give money to the project. And then we were going to talk about what the goal is and how the fundraising is going.
Okay, the goal is by December to have all the money raised so that we can order the launch and have it put in spring of 2025.
Okay, great.
And fundraising is going well. In the last 2 weeks, we've had 58 responses to the mailing letter that you reference.
Mm-hmm.
You don't often get that many replies, and in 2 weeks.
All right, that's wonderful.
Yes.
And how about the prize raffle that went on? When people are going to be listening to this, it's already passed as we're recording and it's already happened. But tell us about that. I know some company must have donated was it a kayak that was being raffled off? So why don't you tell us about that, too?
Okay. Wild Meadow Paddle Sports out of Center Harbor donated a kayak, kayak paddle. We raffled it off at the open house that the Meredith Main Street Merchants organized. And we had great success there. Then we raffled it off, kept the raffle going during the Arts Festival. And then at the street dance, we sold more raffles tickets. Mm-hmm. And at 6:00, the ticket was drawn.
Well, that's a great prize, and that was a really generous donation.
Yes, it was.
I was thinking also about how this type of adaptive launch is really great for anyone with a disability, but it also benefits the whole community. It creates an easier way to enter for everyone and would probably make things just go faster in general also.
Thank you for reminding me of that, because it is. It's not only for people with disabilities, and that's a really important part. Mm-hmm. It can be used by anyone, children, adults, people with bad knees, people who don't want to get their feet wet. I teach paddling. I used to teach paddling. I taught for like 20 some years.
Wow.
You know what the biggest problem was? People not wanting to get their feet wet.
Isn't that funny? You're thinking we're not going to get wet in the water of all places, right?
That is a real bonus, because not only don't you have to get your feet wet, but you can go out later in the year. Like at this time of the year, there's beautiful paddling. But again, sometimes it gets cold on your feet. And for people who have disability surrounding their feet, neuropathy, neuropathy, and other things, well, even if you have cancer, sometimes you can't get your feet wet, or diabetes, it helps out that you can now get into the water later and also get into the water more easily. And the places that do have launches like this, just people get excited. They talk all about it, Oh, wow, you're getting one too,
Right. It's another feather in Meredith's cap, too.
Yes.
Absolutely.
The park will probably get more visits. If people know that this type of launch exists there, especially like you said with kids, you've got a kid that you want to put in a boat and they're going to throw a fit if they get wet. So you're like, oh, we'll go to this one.
Right.
This is the good place to go. So you said you've been paddling for years and years and years. What do you like about it?
I mean, it just comes naturally.
Yeah.
It's a sport that I just was able, it come by naturally. It's like some people, they just know how to play baseball. Well, that's how I felt about paddling. It was just part of me.
Just made sense.
It just made sense, yeah. And of course, the water. I mean, the water's beautiful, but I love the wind. I love the feeling of paddling in the wind and the waves and the action.
Oh, no, I'm a wind lover as well. I love that feeling. It feels free. Do you find yourself like you're able to kind of maybe meditate or kind of forget about all the stresses when you're out on the lake?
For me, especially if it's windy and wavy, you have to focus on your objective of getting from point A to point B and having fun too.
All right, Paula, was there anything that we didn't ask you today that you want to talk about for this project?
No, I think that covers it.
We're going to round out the episode with our question of the day. So today, because we're talking about paddling in water, I wanted to ask what your favorite body of water is to paddle in or travel to.
Small rivers and streams. Places where you have to really think about negotiating. You just don't paddle over and over and over again.
Like in an open lake, you mean, right? As opposed to like an open body of water.
Like but and where you can just be more quiet, or you can see more activity.
Because if you're in a little stream, you can probably see like a squirrel run by, right? Or stuff like that, because you're pretty close to the land. Or
frogs. I mean, one time I ran into just frog heaven. They were all sticking their little heads up out of the water. And I just wanted to stop and enjoy that. Or a loon. In some places you run into loons just nesting everywhere and anywhere. In one particular stream that I love, I just sat there for an hour and took pictures of this loon.
Wow, that's amazing.
He didn't care if I was there, and I didn't care if he was there.
That sounds like you were clearly giving off good energy if the loon was so calm.
You have to be quiet. Yeah.
Maybe that's why I don't do paddling. You have to be quiet. That explains a lot.
What's your favorite kind of body of water, Matthew?
Well, when I was a kid, I had a pool. So I like the chlorine-controlled, so you can see to the bottom pool.
I do love the ocean. I love, but only when it's windy and wavy, like a good ocean storm jumping in the waves and just the chaos of it all. It's
that
very
explains
fun.
A lot, too.
Yeah, that lines up with my personality on the show. But yeah, Paula, it was great to have you here.
Oh, well, thank you. It was fun doing.
All right, Paula, we will look forward to talking to you again in the future. And the next exciting thing that comes up, you let us know, and we will have you back as a guest.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Sounds good.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Goodbye, Matthew.
Goodbye, Anna, and goodbye, everyone. We will look forward to seeing you again soon. Sounds like we're at the end of another chapter. Podcast music titled Daytime TV Theme by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0. Podcast copyright 2024. Meredith Library Podcast Studio.